I found out my cousins were charging $50 to mourn my grandmother in the same breath they told me I wasn't on the program. My name is Linda Garcia. I'm 32. I rent a small second-floor one-bedroom off Orange Grove, 10 minutes from the senior complex where my grandmother, Edith Garcia, lived. I do admin at a youth nonprofit. Tuesday nights were ours. I'd swing by after work with a rotisserie, chicken or soup, twist open ointment caps her fingers didn't like, set up the puzzle board on the coffee table, and take her trash down because the chute scared her. She'd slip a 5 into the pocket of my hoodie when she thought I wasn't looking. Bus money, she'd say, even though I drove. She liked to send me home with fruit in a grocery bag that would rip halfway to the elevator. She died on Sunday night, peacefully, in her sleep. Aunt June, her daughter, is 58 and soft-voiced, and already looks like she's apologizing when she walks into a room. She called me from the hospital and I drove over in my pajamas. I sat with her while they signed things and nodded at a doctor who kept saying, "time of." We decided on a memorial this coming Saturday so the church ladies and neighbors could come. That felt like something I could carry. I was rinsing my coffee mug at 7:40 on Tuesday when the family group chat lit up. Eliza, memorial is $50 a head, friends. Covers costs. Please RSVP W1 payment link. Desiree, share the flyer. We want a classy tribute, no potluck vibes this time. Bradley, logistics are handled. If you're not on the program, no open mic. My stomach did a weird slow drop. Aunt June had said she wanted tables like church, where people bring deviled eggs and sheet cake and no one is turned away. Grandma Edith would feed the mailman if he knocked at lunchtime. Charging to say goodbye felt like slapping a bouncer at the door of her apartment. Me. $50 to come? Are we sure? Eliza. It's about covering costs, Linda. Adults handle costs. We can't just throw something together. Me. What costs? Desiree sent a Canva flyer with a gold border and a photo of Grandma cropped too tight, her mouth open mid-laugh. Celebration of life at Heritage Banquet Hall. Saturday 2 p.m, no outside food. She'd put a QR code in the corner. Bradley, deposit is in. Hall, caterer, printed programs. It's done. Me, who put the deposit down? Bradley, I used your card for the hall since you booked the last reunion. It was on file. Chill, I'll reconcile later. I put the mug down hard enough to click against the counter. The last reunion was 2 summers ago at the Community Rec Center. I'd used my card then because they needed one on file, and Bradley Venmo'd me his share. He'd insisted on taking over this time because I work with vendors. I never gave him permission to use my card again. I also didn't want to detonate the chat. Me, can you forward the contract? I just want to see what I'm paying for. Eliza, wow. Not the energy we need, but fine. A PDF popped up, Heritage Banquet Hall Event Agreement. Page 1 had non-refundable in capital letters across the top. I scrolled anyway because that's what I do. In section 4.2, under cancellation, the fine print said, client may cancel by 5 p.m. local time on the second business day following deposit for full refund. My eyes went back to the email header. Sent Monday 9:11 a.m. There it was, date and time. If this counted as the first business day, the deadline was Wednesday at 5 p.m. I took a breath. I opened my credit card app. There was a $300 pending charge from Heritage Banquet. I could feel the heat in my face, that shaky, embarrassed kind, like I'd been called cheap in a room full of people and didn't want to cry. Me. This says we can cancel by close of business on the second business day. When did you book? Eliza. Yesterday. Everything's set. Please don't start something. Also, we're finalizing the program and you're not on it since you're not helping. If you want to read a poem, text me. Desiree. We're trying to elevate this, Linda. Not a DIY potluck. Bradley. It's $300 to hold it. Stop freaking out. I thought about Tuesdays. her hands warm and light, tapping my wrist to make me look up when I was scrolling. "Put that thing down," she'd say, and point at the puzzle. I thought about Aunt June telling me on Monday, "I hate the idea of tickets, but I don't know what else to do. They're doing everything." I kept scrolling. Section 2 had the headcount minimum, 75. Caterer required in-house, no outside beverages, corkage charges, add-on fees for microphones, no cash bars allowed without their staff. It wasn't a tribute. It was a wedding reception without a bride. Me: "Can you send me the caterer info too?" Desiree: "Linda, you don't get to pick and choose. Eliza already curated the menu." Eliza: "We need buy-in or silence." I let the phone buzz on the counter and went to the hall closet. The coffee urn sat where I'd left it after the last church bake sale, the cord wrapped in a loose figure 8. The box of plastic cups had a strip of blue painter's tape across the top with Linda's return in Aunt June's handwriting. I went back to the PDF and stared at the tiny line no one reads. Second business day, 5 p.m. local time. Monday at 9:11 a.m. to Tuesday at 7:45 p.m. is 34 hours. I could feel the clock in my chest. I looked at the calendar on the wall, the one with Grandma's dentist appointment for next Tuesday still circled, and did the math twice. 34 hours gone. Not all of them mine, but the next ones could be. By lunch on Wednesday, that contract was still open on my phone like it was going to blink first. Nonrefundable screamed at the top. The line that mattered whispered 2 pages down, cancel by 5 p.m. on the second business day, Monday at 9:11 a.m. to today, 5 p.m. Was less than 5 hours away. I ate a granola bar over my keyboard at the youth nonprofit and opened my credit card app. The $300 from Heritage Banquet was still pending. My palms went hot. I took my phone out to the sidewalk so I wouldn't snap in the office and called Eliza. She answered on the second ring, already mid-sigh. "I'm on 10 things right now." "I won't take long," I said. "You used my card. The contract has a cancellation window until 5. "We need to talk about that before any more charges hit." "We're past debating," she said. "Vendors are locked, people have been told. This is what commitment looks like." "You booked it yesterday morning," I said. "There's time to cancel and do something that doesn't charge people to tell stories about Grandma. June didn't want tickets." "June is in grief. We stepped up so she didn't have to. Real help is writing checks, Linda, not nitpicking a contract and undermining. We're doing a tribute, not a potluck in a gym." "I'm asking for numbers," I said. "Headcount you promised. Minimums. What the total is if people don't pay." "We set a per-person contribution. That's how grown-ups cover costs," she said. "If some people can't, others will. It nets out. I can't get into a seminar on this. I have a caterer on hold." "You don't get to put my card down and call that grown-up," I said. I kept my voice level. "Send me the caterer contract." "There's a deposit." "It's fine, Bradley's tracking," she said. "Also, you're not on the program. If you want to read a poem, text Desiree. I have to jump." She hung up before I could answer. I stared at the phone until my screen went black. I texted Aunt June. Me: "Do you like the flyer? The ticket thing?" Her dots blinked for a long time. Aunt June: "I hate the ticket thing. I don't have a better plan. I don't want to fight. I'm sorry." Me: "You don't have to be sorry." I slipped back to my desk and opened the deli's website in a new tab. Party sandwich platter serves 20, 25, 49, 99s. Veggie tray, 24.99. Cookie tray, 12.99. If I got 2 sandwich platters and a veggie, that's under $130. I could do coffee. I had the big urn in the hall closet. One run is 60 cups if you pour light. 2 big cans of ground coffee at $8.99 each would cover it. Sugars, creamer, cups, napkins. Call it another 25s. Lemonade mix is cheap. The community center's small room, I'd used it for the reunion 2 summers ago, had folding chairs included. I couldn't remember the manager's name, just that he was kind and wore a badge and let us stay 15 minutes over. The fee was around $40 then. If it was free, that'd be great. If not, I could still do it. All in, maybe $250. Less than the deposit someone else stuck me with. I wrote the numbers on a sticky note. 50 chairs. 2 urns if I could borrow one from church, otherwise coffee in turns, stirrers, trash bags. Aunt June had paper tablecloths somewhere. She'd keep things tidy without fussing. We didn't need centerpieces. We needed room to breathe. A Slack ping pulled me back. I handled an intake email about a tutoring schedule and then opened the contract again. Section 4.2 didn't change. Second business day, 5 p.m. I checked the timestamp on the forwarded email. Monday, 9:11 a.m. I checked my calendar. Today was Wednesday. The window closed today. My phone buzzed on the desk. Bradley in the chat. Bradley. Can folks please stop DMing about the $50? It's simple. Pay to confirm, or we adjust the guest count. Vendors need numbers. Desiree posted a new graphic with tickets selling fast in a cursive font, like this was a concert. I typed and erased 3 times. I didn't want to fight in a thread where screenshots become weapons. I texted Aunt June again. Me, if we did it simple, community room style, how many do you think would come? Her answer came quick this time. Aunt June, the church ladies for sure. Harold, the neighbors, maybe 40? 60 if word spreads. I'm scared of disappointing people. Me, Grandma never let anyone leave hungry. We can do that without tickets. 3 dots, then nothing. I could picture her sitting on her couch with the tissue box, reading every word twice and trying not to pick sides. She wasn't built for this kind of push. I opened my alarms and set one for 4:30 p.m. with a label, cancel or commit. Then I picked up my phone to call Heritage myself to ask about the cancellation process. I stopped. If I called and they flagged the account, Eliza would feel it like a breeze and lock it down. I needed to be sure before I moved. I drafted a text to Aunt June. I'll handle it. My thumb hovered. I thought about the rent auto draft on Friday, the grocery bag that always broke halfway to Grandma's elevator, the $5 bills she tucked into my hoodies like magic tricks. I deleted the text. I put the phone face down and finished my granola bar. At 12:57, the alarm icon sat at the top of my screen like a tiny dare. At 4:22 on Wednesday, my alarm hadn't even gone off yet. I opened the forwarded email, tapped Manage Reservation, and the Heritage Banquet portal loaded with a neat little button that said Cancel Reservation. I read the line under it, full refund if cancelled by 5 p.m, second business day following deposit. I pressed it. A box popped up. Are you sure? The contact name at the top was Eliza. The last 4 digits of the card showed mine. I hit yes. The page spun, then flashed cancelled. A confirmation email landed in my inbox. I opened my credit card app. The $300 pending charge disappeared mid-refresh. I didn't realize I'd been holding my breath until my shoulders dropped. I called the number at the bottom of the contract anyway. A woman at Heritage answered, bright and brisk. I gave her the event number and said I was the cardholder and had cancelled within the window. She said she saw it, refund processed, and an email had gone to the contact on file. You're all set, she said. No fees. Thank you, I said, and hung up before I started explaining my entire family. I pulled up the community center website and dialed. A guy picked up on the second ring. Community center, this is Fabian. Hi, I said. I think you helped us 2 summers ago with a family reunion. Do you have a small room for Saturday afternoon? Like 2 p.m.-ish? Folding chairs are fine. We've got room B open from 1 to 4, he said. $40 for residents, includes chairs and tables. No AV in there, whiteboard though. I don't need AV, I said. I need a room where no one is asked for a ticket. He laughed once, like he wasn't sure if that was a joke. Okay, name? Linda Garcia. Got it, he said. I'll email the confirmation. You can pay online or at the desk. Can I pay now? I read him my card number. $40 posted as CityCom CTR before I ended the call. His email came with a simple PDF. Room B, Saturday 1 car 4, Chais PM. Capacity 60, no alcohol. Please leave it tidy. I stood up and went to the hall closet. The big coffee urn was where it always was, cord wrapped neat. I plugged it in for a second to make sure the light still worked. It did. I had a half sleeve of 8-ounce cups, a box of sugar packets, stirrers in a rubber band. I wrote a list on a sticky note. Cups, creamer, napkins, trash bags, lemon juice, sandwich platters, veggie tray. I called the grocery deli. 2 party sandwich platters for Saturday, pick up at 12:15, I said. One with no pork if you can, and a veggie tray. The woman on the phone took my name and said I could pay at pickup. We'll label them, she said. Anything else? I added cookies. $12 felt like cushion for latecomers. Then I started dialing the people who never check the family chat. Uncle Harold first. Kiddo, he said, how's your mom holding up? It's June, I said. She's breathing. He sighed into the phone. Tell me where to be. Community Center, Room B, Saturday at 2. No tickets. Bring a story and maybe those photo albums if you can lift them. I can lift them, he said. I'll bring the Polaroids. Your grandma never threw anything out. Good, I said. That's the point. I called Cousin Emily. She works retail and her schedule is a nightmare. I'll switch shifts, she said before I finished. Text me the address. I can grab paper plates on my break. Perfect, I said. I called Mrs. Lee, Grandma's neighbor. She cried, then sniffed and said she'd tell the 2 ladies from across the hall. They don't do the internet, she said. Can you text me the time so I can write it down big? 2 p.m., I said. No cost, just come. I texted Aunt June a photo of the community center confirmation. She called me immediately and then stopped herself after 1 ring and texted instead. Aunt June, is this okay? Is it too small? Me, it fits 60. We can open the partition if we overflow. I'll ask Fabian. Aunt June, thank you. I set the coffee urn back on the shelf and took a photo of my sticky notes so I wouldn't lose them. The clock on my stove said 5:03. Somewhere, a PDF in Eliza's inbox was telling her the banquet hall was gone. I opened the family chat. Threads of tickets selling fast and final call for payments stacked like flyers on a telephone pole. I typed slowly. Me. Memorial is moved to the community room on Orange Grove, Room B, Saturday at 2 p.m. No cost, no tickets, coffee and sandwiches. Bring a story if you want. All are welcome. I added the address and a pin. Then I put my phone face down on the counter. The quiet in my kitchen felt like an exhale. Not victory, just space. I wrote borrow extra earn on the sticky note and stuck it to my wallet so I wouldn't end up funding anyone else's idea by accident. In the next room, my grandmother's dentist appointment was still circled on the calendar. I smoothed the paper with the flat of my hand and let myself stand there for a minute, doing nothing, while the world on my phone decided what to do with Simple. My phone didn't stay face down for long. It buzzed hard enough to scoot across the counter. The group chat lit up so fast the bubbles overlapped. Eliza, you canceled the hall without talking to us? Reckless. Desiree, you sabotaged the tribute we were building. Do you understand how that looks? Bradley, we have contracts. You can't just pull stunts and think there aren't costs. I'll send invoices. I didn't type. I watched the little gray typing bubble flare and die, flare and die. Eliza's call came in, her name shivering on my screen. I let it go to voicemail. Another came back to back. I turned the ringer down and called Aunt June instead. She answered on the second ring like she'd been holding the phone. Linda? It's me, I said. I moved it to the community room, Saturday at 2. Coffee, sandwiches, no tickets. She made a sound, half a breath, half a sob. I was afraid to ask you to. I couldn't. Her voice broke. I could hear the tissue box shuffle. They made me feel cheap, like if I said potluck, it meant I didn't love my own mother enough. You loved her exactly right, I said. Grandma would chase people down the hallway with Tupperware. She never charged anybody to sit at her table. I know, she said softer. Thank you. I can bring the quilt for the memory table and the framed photo from her 50th anniversary, and I'll keep the bathroom stocked with paper towels. June, I said, you can just be the daughter who misses her mom. I'll handle the chairs. She let out a laugh that turned into a sniff. Okay. Another buzz from the counter. Desiree again. Desiree, to be clear, the official memorial is the banquet hall event. We already designed programs. Please stop confusing people. Eliza, we already have a run of show. You don't get to hijack. You're not on the program for a reason. I put them on mute and opened the last flyer Desiree had dropped, a menu preview with a logo at the bottom and a phone number. I called it. Magnolia Catering, a man said. His voice had that patient, tired tone of service people everywhere. Hi, I said. I'm calling about an event Saturday for Edith Garcia. I wanted to let you know the family won't need catering after all. There was a pause as he typed. We have you for Saturday with Heritage, yes. Deposits in from Eliza, he said. Non-refundable within the week of service. That's in the policy they signed. We can cancel the headcount and staffing, but the deposit stays. I understand, I said. I didn't book it. I just don't want you prepping food no one will pick up. I appreciate the heads up, he said. We'll release the staff. Again, deposit stays with us. That's between you and the cardholder, I said. Good luck with your other events. He sounded almost relieved. Thanks, and sorry about your loss. Thank you, I said, and hung up. Bradley pinged again. Bradley, since you changed the plan, we need your card to cover what we can't recoup. Text me a picture. I'll run it and send you receipts. I took a photo instead of my credit card app showing the reversal from Heritage Banquet and my $40 community center charge. I didn't send it to the thread. I saved it to a folder I named Memorial and filed the community room confirmation PDF beside it, like I was stacking papers in a manila folder. Eliza left me a voicemail I didn't need to listen to know the tone, measured, clipped, with a smile that didn't touch her eyes. Desiree DM'd me separately. Desiree, you've put me in a horrible position. People are confused. I'm telling them the community room is a pre-gathering. The banquet is the real memorial. Me. Anyone who loved Grandma is welcome at 2 p.m. No ticket. That's all I'm saying. She left me on red. I called Fabian back, asked about the partition. If room B fills, can we open into C? If it's open, he said. Right now it is. Just give me a wave when you get here. Thank you, I said. Also, can I borrow an extra coffee urn? He laughed. I'll ask the teen center. If they have one, it's yours. By then, it was full dark outside. I pulled the trash bag out and set the bin by the door so I wouldn't forget to take it down in the morning like Grandma taught me. The chat chimed again. I glanced despite myself. Eliza. Official program attached. Please note, only designated speakers. Do not disrupt. The unauthorized event at the community room is not Grandma's memorial. Please respect the family. She'd used the photo of Grandma with the gold border again. The list of speakers was all cousins and a deacon I'd only met once. My name wasn't there. Aunt June's was, buried between slideshow and closing prayer. I had to put the phone down to stop my hands from shaking. I texted Aunt June. Me, you don't have to stand where you don't want to stand. Aunt June, I'm standing with you. I breathed. Simple as that. I washed the coffee urn and set it to dry upside down. I wrote, pick up platters 12:15 on a fresh sticky and put it on my keys. In the other room, the calendar still had Grandma's dentist appointment circled. I thought about erasing it and left it. Tomorrow, I'd go by her place with Aunt June and sort mail. Tonight was for keeping my phone on mute and letting the cousins wear themselves out on a program no one had to follow. Saturday smelled like coffee and Lysol from the minute I walked into the community center. I was there at 12:45 with a cart I borrowed from the front desk and 2 grocery bags digging into my fingers. Fabian met me at the door to room B with a ring of keys and a smile. You're Linda, he said. I've got you. Also, I hunted down a second urn from the teen center. It's older than me, but it heats. You're a hero, I said. He propped the door with a chock and wheeled in 2 stacks of folding chairs like he'd been waiting. The room looked exactly right. Linoleum floor, scuffed baseboards, a long rectangle of sunlight across half the carpet. No AV, just a whiteboard and a clock that ran fast. I set one 8-foot table against the wall near the door and smoothed a paper tablecloth over it. Aunt June came in a minute later, balancing a plastic storage tub and a garment bag. Her face was puffy, but she was smiling. She pulled out Grandma's wedding quilt, white and pale blue, the tiny stitches neat as a ledger, and spread it over the table like a blessing. Then she set down a framed photo from Grandma's 50th. Grandma in a white sweater, Grandpa grinning at her like a teenager. June fussed with the angle until the glare was gone. Memory table, she said, more to herself than to me. Where are your cups? In the bag, I said. Sugar next to the spoons. Stirrers in the mug. The urn needs 10 minutes. Fabian popped back in with 2 laminated arrows and some tape. Scrounged from the parks department, he said. The arrows said event with generic block letters. He handed me blue painter's tape. You want them at the lobby? Yes, please, I said. Memorial for Edith Garcia, room B, 2:00. He nodded and was gone. At 1:10, I drove the half-mile to the grocery for pickup. The deli had everything stacked in a fridge behind the counter, 2 sandwich trays, one marked no pork, one with little toothpicks sticking out of the lids, a veggie tray, a cookie platter under cling wrap. The total rang up to $146 and change with tax. I swiped, signed, and hustled them to the car. The clerk offered me extra mustard packets like a reflex. I said yes. By 1:30, the urns were humming and the room smelled like church basement coffee and multi-purpose cleaner. I set cookies on a plate, lined up napkins, and stuffed spare trash bags in the bottom of the can. Emily came skidding in on squeaky flats with 2 packs of paper plates and a hug that lasted too long for a room this busy. Uncle Harold followed with a banker's box full of photo albums and a Polaroid camera he said still had film. We'll see, he said, and thumped the box next to the quilt. Mrs. Lee arrived with 2 women from Grandma's hall. One carried a bundt cake dusted with powdered sugar. We didn't know if we should bring food, Mrs. Lee said, apologetic. Grandma would say yes, I said. Thank you. At 1:50, people started trickling. Church ladies in floral blouses, 2 second cousins I only ever see at holidays. The neighbor from 3B who always took Grandma's packages when the mailman wouldn't climb the stairs. They came with stories in their faces, like they'd been practicing in the car. At 2:03, Aunt June cleared her throat at the front of the room. We don't have a mic, but she didn't need one. Thank you for coming, she said. My mom loved to feed people more than anything. This is what she would have wanted. Please, tell a story if you want. We'll keep the coffee coming. She stepped back and it started. A woman from church talked about how Grandma taught her to keep butter cold for pie crust and to flute the edges with a knuckle, not a fork. Uncle Harold held up a Polaroid of Grandma in a visor at some long-ago picnic and told how she used to station herself at the bus stop during summer and hand out water bottles to kids coming from day camp. Mrs. Lee said Grandma kept spare slippers by her couch in case a guest's feet were cold. Heads nodded. People laughed in that watery way where the laugh and the breath are the same sound. The chairs filled. Fabian poked his head in, saw the pressed backs, and whispered, "Want me to open into C?" I nodded. He slid the partition back with a metal groan, and the room seemed to inhale. 2 more tables appeared like magic, and we set the sandwich trays out farther so the line could move. I poured coffee until my wrist ached. Someone added a bowl of cut fruit. Someone else slid a tin of cookies next to mine. Paper plates skidded in the draft from the door, and Emily anchored them with a salt shaker. A teenage boy stepped up and said Grandma used to yell at the bus driver if he pulled too far from the curb. His mom shushed him for the yell part, and he corrected himself, "Talk loud," and everyone laughed. The knot in my chest started to loosen. The room sounded like a reunion. No one asked where to pay. No one asked about a program. People took turns without being told. Then the door swung open and the temperature dropped 3 degrees. Eliza swept in first in a black sheath dress like a cocktail party. Desiree followed in stilettos too tall for linoleum, hair sprayed so stiff it didn't move when she looked around. Bradley came behind them with a folder tucked under his arm, chin set. They smelled like perfume and car AC. They looked furious in a polite way, like people who practiced their faces in the mirror. Desiree's eyes landed on the quilt, and then the coffee urns, and then the chairs, full. Eliza's smile was the kind you see on flyers. Bradley's jaw flexed. I could guess why. Their caterer wasn't refunding. Their room was empty. Our room wasn't. Eliza straightened her dress like she was about to step onto a stage that didn't exist here and started walking toward me. Eliza came straight to the coffee table like it was a podium. She had a folder tucked under her arm and the kind of smile that doesn't move your eyes. "Since you changed the plan," she said, low and bright, "you'll cover our costs." Desiree slid in beside her and started passing out photocopies from her bag, an invoice with a big logo at the top and a number that made a few eyebrows jump. Bradley hovered behind them with his hand already out, like he expected a card to land in it. "Let's not do this here," I said, just as low. "People are sharing." "This is exactly where to do it," Eliza said. "You made a unilateral decision to cancel the haul. There are consequences." Bradley wagged his fingers at me. "Just give me your card to make it easy. I'll run it and send you receipts." Aunt June had been standing near the quilt, talking to Mrs. Lee. She saw the folder, saw my face, and crossed the space between us like she'd been waiting to. She took my elbow. "What's happening?" "An invoice parade," I said. Desiree planted one of the photocopies in front of Aunt June like a summons. "Catering deposit, non-refundable, programs already printed. We're simply asking Linda to make the family whole since she decided to pivot." I took a breath and said what I had to say without raising my voice. I canceled the haul within the refund window because my card was used without permission. The banquet hall reversed the $300. It's off my account. I have the confirmation from them and the timestamp. I lifted my phone and opened the folder I'd made, the screenshot of the reversal sitting next to the cancellation clause with a sloppy yellow highlight. "This is section 4.2. Full refund if cancelled by 5 p.m. on the second business day following deposit." The deposit was Monday at 9:11 a.m. I cancelled Wednesday at 4:22 p.m. That's within the window. I turned the screen so Eliza could see. She didn't lean in. "I also called your caterer on Thursday," I said. "They released staff. The deposit stays with them, and it's on your card, Eliza. That's between you and them." The community room cost $40. The sandwich trays and veggie were $146 and change. Cookies were $12. Cups, creamer, napkins came out of my grocery budget. That's what I spent. Murmurs moved through the chairs behind us. Not loud, just air shifting. Someone in the second row set the photocopy on the seat beside her, like it burned. Bradley took a half step forward. It was a mistake to involve your card? Fine. We'll repay the $300 when the hall pushes it back. They already did, I said, and held up the screen with the reversal again, line item circled in red with my finger. It's back. Paid. Closed. Desiree pressed her lips together. You're ignoring sunk costs. We did so much work. There's a run of show. People expect... Aunt June put a hand on the quilt and spoke up, clear as a bell. We honor Mom by not charging admission. The words landed like a tray set gently but firmly on a table. She didn't raise her voice either. She didn't have to. Heads turned. The teenage boy who'd told the bus stop story stopped fiddling with the Polaroid and looked at her like she'd said something adults never say out loud. Eliza's chin lifted. This is chaos. This is embarrassing. We had an official program. We had centerpieces. We had a plan that respected her. She respected people, Aunt June said. All of them. She never asked a neighbor for a ticket to sit on her couch. Bradley held his palm out again, softening his tone like it would help. Linda, just give me your card. We can square up and stop making a scene. I'm not paying for you to put a price at the door, I said. No. I kept my phone in my hand, screen still lit with the highlighted clause and the $40 charge to the city. I didn't waive it. I just let it sit there like a receipt on a counter. If someone wanted to see, they could. Fabian hovered in the doorway, taking the temperature like a good manager, ready to open a partition or fetch a trash bag, not security. He caught my eye. I shook my head. He disappeared. Behind Eliza, Desiree started to hand another photocopy to Mrs. Lee. Mrs. Lee didn't take it. She pressed her palms flat over her purse and said, We already brought a cake. A man from church, the one who'd talked about pie crust, cleared his throat. Is there more coffee? He asked me, purposely ordinary. On it, I said, and reached for the urn. My hand was steady. Eliza reached for a microphone that wasn't there, fingers grasping at air. The smile left her face. We're taking back control, she hissed. Like control was a thing you could pick up and carry. Aunt June stepped a little closer to me, so our shoulders touched. There isn't control to take, she said, still calm. There's just family. Eliza looked past us at the chairs, at the quilt, at the line for sandwiches that somehow formed itself without velvet ropes. People didn't look away from her, they just didn't follow. Desiree's stack of photocopies sagged. Bradley lowered his hand like he remembered he didn't have anywhere to put a card anymore. I refilled the coffee and set the urn back on its warmer. The clock on the wall ran a little fast. The room returned to its hum, whether my cousins liked it or not. Eliza stood there, simmering, like she was waiting for a cue that wasn't coming. People were watching without stopping the stories. I set the coffee scoop down and turned so everyone could hear me. We don't have a mic, I said, steady. So I'll keep it simple. If grief has a cover charge, I'm out. Today is for anyone who loved her, no ticket required. I didn't give a speech, I just let it sit in the room. A few heads nodded. Someone in the back said, Amen, quiet. Eliza opened her folder like she was about to produce a scroll. Desiree held a stack of the photocopied invoice against her chest, looking around like she was waiting for someone to raise their hand and pay. No one did. I reached for the top copy, slid it free, and flipped open the front of Eliza's folder. I pulled a little binder clip from my bag, I'd stuck a few in there with the napkins because that's who I am, and clipped the caterer invoice to 2 papers I already had. the printed confirmation for Room B I'd grabbed from my office printer on Friday, and the grocery receipt I'd tucked in my wallet after pickup. I closed the folder and handed it back to Eliza. "These are yours to handle," I said. "All of them." Her mouth pressed flat. She didn't take a step back, but she didn't take a step forward either. A hand lifted from the second row. It was the neighbor from 3B, the one who always took Grandma's packages. "Can I tell something?" she asked, not waiting for anyone to grant her permission before she stood. Edith kept a jar of singles by the door, right on that little table with the bowl of mints, for the ice cream truck. She said, "No kid in this building is going to miss that bell because their mama doesn't have $1. She used to wave that jar like a magic wand. We'd all hear that truck and she'd be halfway down the hall in her slippers." People laughed through their throats. Mrs. Lee wiped her eyes and laughed at the same time. The sound went through the room like light. Eliza tried to catch it and redirect. "That's sweet," she said. "We had a run of show." Aunt June didn't raise her voice. "This is the show, Eliza." More stories bubbled up. The teenage boy with the Polaroid lifted the first photo that had rolled out, overexposed, half a face, and grinned. "She tried to teach me to knit," he said. "I made a knot that ate the needles. She didn't even get mad. She just made it a pom-pom and put it on my hat." I poured more coffee. Desiree shifted her weight, stilettos clicking. She had a plastic storage bin at her feet I hadn't noticed before, the lid half off. Inside were 2 centerpieces, glass cylinders with floating candles and a ring of fake eucalyptus. Bradley looked at the line for sandwiches, then at the bin, then at me like I was supposed to ask for them. I didn't. Eliza's smile thinned to nothing. "We're stepping into the hall to coordinate," she announced, like anyone had asked. She tucked the folder under her arm, clutched too tight. Desiree scooped up the bin of centerpieces like a baby you have to protect from drafts. Bradley hovered for a second, as if he might try one more handout gesture, then thought better of it. They went to the hallway. No one followed. A few people glanced that way and then turned back to whoever was telling the story about pie crust or bus stops or slippers. The room chose quietly. I moved down the coffee line, refilling cups, swapping in the second urn when the first sputtered. Emily pressed a pack of napkins into my hand without breaking her conversation with Cousin Emily's friend from church. Uncle Harold shook the Polaroid like it was 1992 and set it on the quilt to dry, the white border curling a little at the corner. Someone slid another plate of cookies onto the table with a sticky note that said "nuts" in careful block letters. From the doorway, Fabian gave me a thumbs up and then vanished again, the way you do when things are going the way they should. The stories kept going. A deacon I barely knew stood up and told about Grandma slipping an extra foil-covered plate into his hands every time he visited, for the road, and how she'd pray so fast and soft you only caught amen and honey. People laughed, people cried. No one asked for a program. I caught a glimpse of the cousins through the glass panel on the door. Eliza was talking low and fast, the folder open, jabbing at a paper inside. Desiree hugged the bin to her ribs. Bradley checked his phone with his mouth tight. A minute later, they reappeared. Eliza's smile was back on like a mask, quick and brittle. "We're leaving," she said to no one in particular. "We have arrangements." "Drive safe," Aunt June said. It sounded exactly like something Grandma would have said. They walked out. Desiree kept the bin tight against her. One of the centerpieces knocked lightly into the door jamb and wobbled. Bradley steadied it with 2 fingers, like it was glass and not water and plastic. They looked like they were taking evidence to a different courtroom. The room sighed, a small, collective thing. Then it went on, because grief always does. We passed the cookie plate down the row and someone dabbed coffee off the quilt when a drop escaped. Aunt June came to stand beside me at the coffee table and took my hand. Hers was warm. From now on, she said, squeezing, we do this our way. I didn't say anything. I squeezed back and poured another cup, the way Grandma used to, right up to the brim and careful not to spill. Sunday morning, my apartment was quiet enough to hear the fridge click on. I loaded the dishwasher with the mugs I'd brought home, wiped coffee off the bottom of the urns, and wrapped their cords the way Grandma taught me. Figure 8, not around the base. My phone lit up at 8:12. Eliza, yesterday was a miscommunication. Feelings were high. For family harmony, can you split the catering loss with us? It's only fair since you changed plans. I read it twice. She hadn't said sorry. She'd said miscommunication like the cover charge had texted itself. I didn't argue. I typed one line. Me. My card stays in my wallet. I muted the thread for 8 hours. Then I opened my credit card app. No new charges. The reversal from Heritage Banquet still sat clean. The $40 to the city was there. The deli total was there. I hit the replace card button and requested a new one anyway. When the bank app asked why, I picked card information shared. I set fraud alerts to ping me for every dollar over one. It felt like locking a door and checking it twice. A text from Aunt June came next. Aunt June, you okay? Me, I'm okay. How are you? Aunt June, grateful, tired. Mom would have loved the quilt table. Me, she would have fixed the corners. A beat. Aunt June, I'm starting a new group for practical things. Smaller. Potluck committee? Me, yes. A few seconds later, a new chat popped up. Potluck committee had 6 people. Me, June, Uncle Harold, Emily, Mrs. Lee, and Cousin Emily's friend from church who knows all the church ladies' phone numbers. The first message was simple. Aunt June, thank you for yesterday. Let's make a list for thank you notes and plan Mom's birthday picnic. Paper plates, nothing fancy. Uncle Harold, I've got addresses for the cousins in Bakersfield and the neighbor who brought the bunt. Emily, I can do a batch of cards tonight. I have stamps. Mrs. Lee, I'll tell the ladies in our hall thank you from the family. And the teen boy who talked about the hat. His name is Marco. Me, I'll write a note to Fabian at the community center for the extra urn and the room and return the urn Monday. Aunt June, good. Also, I found Mom's recipe box. Maybe we can photocopy a few and put them out at the picnic. She'd like that. Me, she would. We picked a park a few blocks from the community center, the one with the big oaks and the reliable shade. No reserve fee, just first-come tables. Bring a dish if you want, but come either way. Paper plates and lemonade jugs, nothing matching. We put, bring a lawn chair in parentheses, so no one would panic about seating. My phone buzzed with a separate message. Mrs. Lee had sent a picture she'd taken of the quilt table, slightly crooked, the glare still there. The Polaroid Uncle Harold had set down drying at the edge. Under it, she typed, that felt like Edith. I saved it. The big group chat pinged once while we were planning. Desiree had posted a black and white photo of Grandma with a caption about respecting official processes. The only reply under it was from a second cousin. Yesterday was perfect. Thank you, June and Linda. After that, the thread went still. I made coffee and watched the pot fill. The apartment smelled like yesterday in a softer way. I crossed to the wall calendar where Grandma's dentist appointment was still circled for Tuesday. I uncapped a pen, drew a line through the circle, and wrote, call to cancel next to it. Then, under Saturday 2 weeks from now, I wrote, picnic for Grandma, Park. I pulled a small magnet from the junk drawer, the one shaped like a lemon, and pinned a photo to the fridge. A print I found at the bottom of Uncle Harold's box last night when we were packing up. Grandma's sitting on her couch, slippered feet, a plate of cookies on her lap, eyebrows up like she's telling you to have one more. The corner of the photo is torn. It looks right that way. At 10, I drove to the community centre to return the borrowed urn. Fabian was at the front desk, sorting clipboards. You made my job easy yesterday, he said when he saw me. That room, it felt good. It did, I said. I set the urn on the counter. Thank you for finding this. Any time, he said. Tell me if you need room B again. I will. Back home, I sat at the table with a stack of blank cards and a list. I wrote one to the lady who brought the bunt, one to the deacon with the soft amen, one to Mrs. Lee for telling the ice cream story. I wrote the note to Fabian like I said I would and put a stamp on it before I could forget. I texted Emily a photo of the stack and she sent back a row of check marks. By afternoon, the new card confirmation email pinged. I updated the auto drafts and left the family chat muted. When I opened it, there were no new messages anyway. Somewhere, a box of centerpieces was sitting in someone's trunk, water sloshing in glass. I set my phone down and let the quiet sit. I couldn't fix the cousins. I couldn't make everyone see what Grandma would have wanted. I could keep my wallet shut and my table open. That felt like enough. The magnet held the photo steady on the fridge. I poured another cup of coffee and sat with it. No program, no schedule, just a list on the counter and a boundary that finally fit in my pocket.